Have you heard about these crazy autism parents? They believe vaccines have caused their children's autism, even though numerous studies have proven otherwise. These whack jobs refuse to acknowledge that autism is genetic and that the 585% increase in autism during the last decade is really only because of better diagnosis.
Yes, I had heard of these parents. I know a little bit about this subject. So, tell me more. What studies are you referring to which prove there is no connection between vaccines and autism?
There are literally dozens, all of which further discredit the vaccine-autism link.
Yes, I understand, but how do these studies prove there is no link between vaccines and autism, and who is performing these studies?
The government and pharmaceutical companies perform the studies. They have proven that the mercury-containing preservative, thimerosal, which is used in certain vaccines, does not increase the rates of autism in vaccinated children. In fact, in one study they found that children with more mercury exposure actually showed less incidences of autism.
That's fascinating. And totally unbelievable. The Homeland Security Act, which was signed into law by President Bush in November of 2002, protects pharma from any thimerosal-related lawsuits. If thimerosal is good, and more thimerosal is better, then why is protection from lawsuits necessary? Anyway, what about unvaccinated children? Has our government and the pharma performed studies which compare autism rates in vaccinated and unvaccinated children?
No, according to the CDC and the pharma, not vaccinating children is immoral, and they will not be made privy to an immoral study.
I am not sure why the CDC and the pharma are experts on what is moral or immoral, but regardless, why can't the CDC compare unvaccinated children against vaccinated children, and evaluate the differences in autism rates?
I never thought of it, but I'm sure the CDC and the pharma would agree to do those studies too. It seems like a logical thing to do.
Actually, these studies have been done. In a September 2008 study in toxicological and environmental chemistry, the State University of New York performed a study on vaccinated and unvaccinated children. They found children who received the hepatitis B triple series vaccines were 9 times more likely to receive special education than those who did not receive that vaccine series.
Wow. I did not hear that on the CNN, the Fox, the MSNBC, the CBS, the NBC, the ABC, or the NPR.
In addition, a recent study comparing vaccinated and unvaccinated rhesus monkeys found that the vaccinated monkeys were more likely to have swelling of the brain, a comorbid condition often found in autistic children.
I wonder why I'm not seeing coverage for these studies on the CNN, the Fox, the MSNBC, the CBS, the NBC, the ABC, or the NPR.
I'm not sure. Although the CNN and the Fox did cover the recent court ruling in which a Georgia family was awarded roughly $20 million for a vaccine injury which did not cause, but resulted in their little girl's autism.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that the court conceded that this girl's autism was caused by vaccines?
Actually, they said her autism was not caused by vaccines, but rather resulted from vaccines.
What the hell is the difference?
I'm not entirely sure.
This is making me uncomfortable. Where can I go to read the Georgia girl's case?
You cannot read any official documents pertaining to this case. Shortly after the results were made public in September 2010, the federal government sealed the documents. American citizens are not allowed access to these court proceedings.
So why did the CDC and the pharma say vaccines absolutely do not cause autism? They seem so sure of it, but there seems to be evidence suggesting that further studies are required, and at the very least autism rates should be compared in vaccinated versus unvaccinated children.
Many prominent, non-crazy people agree with you. The former head of the U.S. Red Cross and the National Institute of Health, Dr. Bernadine Healy, has stated that public health officials have been too quick to dismiss the concerns of parents. She insists more studies must be done.
There seems to be something illogical about this whole debate. Why does the CDC and the National Institute of Health and the pharma refuse to do these studies?
I'm not sure, because I cannot read their minds. However, I have read that the vaccine industry is a $25 billion a year business, and it is projected to grow by 12% per year, outpacing all other pharmaceuticals. In fact, this growth has already accelerated. The U.S. childhood vaccine program has grown from 8 shots in 1980 to 69 doses of 16 vaccines by the time a child reaches 18 years of age.
Well, I'm sure the pharma studies all of these vaccines to make sure they do not harm children, and that the CDC is very tough on the pharma to make sure these shots are safe. Also, I'm sure the pharma companies work together to make sure that the compound effects of these 69 vaccines are not harmful to the people they are trying to protect.
Actually, the CDC regularly accepts the pharma's own research as the basis for approving the vaccine the pharma makes. And no, the pharma typically does not work together. They compete with each other for revenue and profits. They are not incented to conduct additional research to verify whether or not their shot causes harm when it is administered with another pharma shot or shots.
So, let me make sure I have this right. The same pharma that makes billions of dollars to produce vaccines also conducts the studies to determine their safety and effectiveness. And the pharma does not study the compound effects of all of these shots when they are simultaneously administered into our children's bodies.
Yup.
Okay, but surely the pharma is incented to make safe vaccines, because if they do not, they will get their asses sued off by the American people.
Nope.
I'm confused.
In 1988, the federal government implemented a vaccine court. Its only purpose is to hear the cases of those who are allegedly injured by vaccines and award damages if warranted.
And the pharma pays those families, right?
Nope.
Who the hell does then?
The taxpayers. You and me. The federal vaccine court is subsidized by taxes on vaccines. Those taxes are paid by the very people who get the shots. If you or your child is injured by a vaccine, tax dollars are used to pay the damages. The vaccine court has paid out over $2 billion of taxpayer money over the past 20 years.
Okay, now I'm starting to get really pissed off. How the hell can the pharma manufacture the vaccines, study their efficacy, get paid billions, and have no risk of being sued if they create a product that hurts or kills someone? Surely, the CDC is aware of this blatant conflict of interest and is quickly putting this BS to an end.
Actually, the people who run these governmental agencies frequently take lucrative jobs with the industry firms they regulate. In fact, the former head of the CDC, Julie Gerberding, is now the president of Merck's vaccine division.
Surely, the pediatric community has got to be flipping out, knowing they are injecting our kids with upwards of 200% of the EPA limit of ethyl mercury.
I am starting to think you might not have children. If you broach this topic with your pediatrician and tell them you would like to space or forego some of the shots, most of them look at you as if you are crazy. Yet, if you ask them to produce a study that convinces them that there is no link between vaccines and autism, they act as if you have asked them to strip naked. They rely upon the AAP and their pharmaceutical suppliers for information. They attend pharmaceutical seminars, where pharmaceutical studies are presented. In their defense, many of them have lost a patient to an infectious disease over the course of their career. Therefore, they are fierce advocates of the vaccine schedule. They will give you pamphlets stating how effective vaccines are at eradicating disease, while omitting valuable information, like the hepatitis B shot, which is given within days of birth, is for a disease that is most commonly spread through sexual contact, and that any child with an allergy to yeast should not get this vaccine.
But why?
Because that's how they roll. Parents who witnessed a decline in their children's health after their vaccinations have been marginalized by the public health institutions for over a decade. Read Evidence of Harm, my friend. It will blow your freaking mind.
Well, aren't these pediatricians at least told about the risks? Where do these pamphlets come from?
Think about it.
Oh my God, the pharma.
You got it.
What about pediatricians who have vaccine-injured kids? They must be leading the charge towards change we can believe in.
Yes, they often become doctors. They are reputed to have improved the conditions of many autistic children. They also tend to be fierce proponents of additional vaccine autism research. Thousands upon thousands of families seek their guidance every day.
Surely their methods have been fervently studied by the medical community?
No. They are often shamed, sued, and robbed of their credentials. It's very difficult to change a system that has always been accepted, but never thoroughly tested. For many years the American people have blindly followed the meaningless 5-word mantra. The studies have been done, without ever asking, what studies? When I asked a New York Times journalist to verify the sources he used for an article he'd written on this topic, he responded to my request by calling me a conspiracy theorist. That was his way of telling me he does not fact-check. He doesn't have to. No one questions vaccines. Not even investigative reporters, no matter how many kids get sick.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to throw up.
I know the feeling. It's okay. All of us were where you are right now. It is very difficult to let go of that safety blanket of trust in our public officials and thought leaders.
Maybe the autism parents are not whack jobs after all. Maybe they really love their children, have intimate insight into their children's health, and are fiercely defending their children as most parents would. By the way, how do you know so much about this? Are you one of those doctors?
Nope. I had a healthy baby. Now I have a beautiful, but very sick little boy, with a compromised immune system. He cannot stop producing antibodies for varicella. He has the measles in his intestines, a condition known as leaky gut. He has intestinal and neurological inflammation, chronic eczema and diarrhea. He cannot hold a fork, and he still wears a diaper. His sensory, proprioceptive, vestibular, and nervous systems do not function properly. For far, far too long they have been calling it autism. You can learn more at everythingsfinemrsgoes.com, authored by the Miss Yuta Project.